When you choose yourself, when you stop pouring into someone who wasn't pouring back, your energy changes. You walk differently. You speak with more purpose. You hold your boundaries like a queen with a crown she earned. You are the prize. Not because someone finally noticed your worth, but because you realized it yourself. When you start to understand what it truly means to value yourself, everything about the way you show up changes. You stop over-explaining. You stop waiting by the phone. You stop giving discounts to people who couldn't afford your presence in the first place. And that's when the shift happens. That's when silence becomes your language and detachment becomes your power. You no longer try to prove your value. You just are valuable. When you cut communication, especially in a situation where someone has taken your energy for granted, you're not punishing them. You're reclaiming your space. You're giving yourself room to breathe, to reflect, and to rise. And in that rise, in that beautiful isolation, something happens. You start seeing yourself not through the lens of how they treated you, but through your own. You realize that you're not someone waiting to be chosen. You're someone who already is the choice. And when a man walks away, when he disappears, thinking you'll wait, hoping you'll reach out, and you don't, that does something to him. At first, maybe it feeds his ego. He thinks he has power. But time has a funny way of revealing truth. Days go by, then weeks, then a month, and you, instead of crumbling, start glowing. You start healing. You step into your routine. You refocus on your goals. You surround yourself with people who uplift you, and you fall in love with your own company. That's when he starts to feel it. He starts to realize that the attention you used to give wasn't ordinary. It was sacred. The way you listened, the way you supported, the way you saw him when no one else did. Those aren't things people find every day. And now they're gone. Completely, because you stopped pouring into someone who didn't show up with the same kind of heart. And your absence becomes a mirror. He sees himself in it, what he had, what he lost, what he didn't appreciate. That's why he returns. Not always because he's changed, but because you did. And don't get it twisted, men don't come back because you chased them. They come back when you don't. When you stay silent. When you choose peace over chaos. When you protect your dignity. That silence, that space you held with grace becomes unforgettable. It speaks volumes. It tells him that you are no longer the woman who waited, hoped, and begged. You are the woman who remembered who she was. There's something irresistibly powerful about a woman who chooses herself, who doesn't need to prove anything, who doesn't flinch when someone walks away. That's the kind of woman who leaves a mark. That's the kind of woman men circle back to, not to rescue, not to fix, but to see if the door is still open. Because deep down, they know they messed up. They know they underestimated the strength behind your softness, the steel behind your smile. And here's the truth. Being the prize isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. It's about knowing that your love is not a bargain, that your presence is a gift, that the way you love, the way you care, the way you give, it all deserves reciprocity, not breadcrumbs. When you stand in that knowing, you naturally attract more respect, even from the people who once disrespected you. So yes, he may return, but you've already arrived. You've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer waits for external validation. You've learned to be your own home, your own peace, your own answer. And that, my love, is why you are and always will be the prize. Distance changes everything. It forces people to sit with silence, with memory, with emotion they've been too distracted or too proud to feel. When you remove yourself from someone's daily life, you also remove your energy, your laughter, your softness, your light. And that absence is not just physical, it's emotional. It echoes in their routine, in the places you used to go together, in the songs you sang, in the messages you once shared. It's in the quiet moments, the 2 a.m. scrolls, the sudden flashbacks. That's when they begin to feel it, your emotional impact. No contact is more than a lack of text or calls. It's a space where reflection blooms. When someone is used to your attention, your availability, your love, they unconsciously rely on it. They think it's constant. They take for granted that you'll be there. But when that energy disappears, it leaves behind a gap that nothing else can quite fill. And in that gap, emotions surface. Emotions they once ignored, denied, or buried beneath ego. And those emotions demand attention. At first, he might act like it doesn't matter. He might even pretend to move on, try to distract himself with noise, new people, new plans, new things. But emotional connections don't just dissolve because someone pretends they're fine. That's the thing about real impact. It lingers. And it lingers louder when everything else quiets down, when the excitement fades, when the crowd leaves, when the music stops. That's when your absence starts speaking. That's when he begins to feel what it's like to lose something that was never ordinary. Because you weren't just another person in his life. You were someone who saw him, someone who supported him, someone who held space for him in ways that even he didn't understand at the time. You gave pieces of yourself. You showed up when it was inconvenient, and you poured into him even when your own cup wasn't full. That's not forgettable. That's not replaceable. And when you finally pull back, it creates emotional weight, a weight that doesn't let go so easily. That's why they return. Not always because they're in love, not always because they've changed, but because they feel the void. The emotional space you once occupied is now empty, and that emptiness is loud. It's uncomfortable. It confronts them. It makes them look at themselves and ask questions they've avoided. Why did I lose her? What did I do? What did she see in me that I couldn't see in myself? And slowly, it begins to hurt. Because while you were gone, you were healing. While he was trying to forget, you were rebuilding. And that rebuilding made you stronger. It gave you clarity. It helped you recognize the emotional weight you were carrying for two, and you decided to set it down. You decided that your peace mattered more than chasing someone who couldn't see your worth clearly the first time. And as you created distance, you gave both of you the chance to feel the truth. Unfiltered, raw, and real. It's easy to ignore someone when they're still there. It's easy to take love for granted when it's always showing up. But it's in the absence, in that still uncomfortable silence, where real emotions rise to the surface. And when they do, they come with realizations about you, about the relationship, about the moments that were missed, dismissed, or mishandled. And those realizations, they stir something deep. So when he returns, it's not just out of impulse. It's because he felt you, even in your silence, especially in your silence. Your emotional impact reached him, not through words, not through reminders, but through absence. Through the space you left when you decided to choose yourself. Through the energy that once gave him life, now turned inward, now glowing quietly in your own corner of the world. He comes back because he finally hears what you've been saying all along, not through your voice, but through your decision to walk away. And that message? That's what emotional impact truly means. It's the kind that lingers even when you're gone. Energy doesn't lie. It may be invisible, but it is felt, deeply, undeniably, and often more powerfully in silence than in speech. When you shift your energy from chasing someone to choosing yourself, from needing validation to honoring your peace, everything changes, not just around you, but within you. It's a transformation that doesn't always make noise, but it's so strong it's impossible to ignore. The people who once took your love for granted begin to feel the absence of that warmth, that care, that devotion, and it shakes them, even if they don't admit it. In the beginning, you might feel like your silence is going unnoticed. You might think he doesn't care or he's already moved on. But the truth is, energy is never truly ignored. It's felt. And when someone is used to your energy being available on demand, the shift hits harder than any goodbye ever could. It's in your stillness that they start to notice. It's in your detachment that they feel the loss. Because it's not just about the words you're not saying, it's the vibe you're no longer giving. So there's a difference between pulling away to make someone miss you and pulling away because you finally see your own worth. The former is a tactic, the latter is a transformation. When your energy shifts from trying to be understood to being at peace with not explaining yourself, it creates a power that doesn't need to be loud to be heard. That energy whispers, I no longer need to prove my value. And people feel that, especially the ones who expected you to always be there. He starts to feel it when he no longer has access to the version of you that overextended, overexplained, and overgave. When he reaches out and you don't reply with the same urgency. When he posts and you don't watch his story. When you stop reacting, that's when he feels the shift. Because energy doesn't need closure. It creates its own. When you've done the emotional work to detach with love, your silence doesn't scream, it radiates. It tells him everything he needs to know, that you're no longer available for half-hearted effort or temporary love. And what's more powerful than any message you could send, any quote you could post, or any comeback you could deliver is that quiet energy of peace, of grace, of not needing them anymore. That energy is rooted in self-respect. It says, I've evolved past the need for your validation. And that's the kind of energy people come back to, not because they deserve another chance, but because your transformation demands their attention. Because when your energy was focused on them, they didn't feel the depth of it. Now that it's focused on you, it's undeniable. He returns not because you said something to pull him back, but because you said nothing at all. Because silence backed by strength is magnetic, it's mysterious, it's powerful. When your energy shifts, the dynamic shifts too. Suddenly, he's not sure if he still knows you. He's not sure if he still has a place in your life. And that uncertainty plants seeds of curiosity, of longing, of realization. He starts to wonder what changed and why he's not a part of your glow anymore. And the truth is, you simply stopped shining your light in his direction and started shining it inward. That's what makes people feel your absence on a soul level. It's not about ignoring them out of spite. It's about honoring your own frequency. You stopped operating from lack and started vibrating from love. Love for yourself, your growth, your future. And once you make that shift, you no longer chase, you attract. Not just him, but better, more aligned, more whole. And whether he comes back or not, you don't wait. You don't pause your journey. Because your energy, now healed and empowered, refuses to orbit around someone who only noticed your worth after losing access to it. You've changed, and that change is felt. It's quiet, but it's bold. It's calm, but it's undeniable. And once your energy has shifted, there's no going back to the version of you that needed anything from anyone to feel enough. Because now you are full, not because he returned, but because you did. You returned to yourself.